Hey, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate everybody dropping in. Armand's excited. He's already popped into chat, so I appreciate that. Rock and roll, Tom. I agree. All right, let's see what we can do with this story. I will jump to the cut view. We are looking at Ruthless, Rabid, Raging, Ravenous, Rampaging, Remorseless, Repulsive, Revolting, Repugnant Zombies by Jay Wilburn. A little over 10,000 words into it. My goal today is 2,500 more words, taking me to 12,500 at the very least. All right, not going to reread the entire previous chapter because we did get to the end of the chapter, but I am going to start at the last page and kind of work my way back into the story there. So kind of get an idea of where this Waldo Bloodfist character is and then continue the action. All right. It felt like forever, but then the moment he emerged from the pack of cars, he stood surprised, like he couldn't believe he'd gone all the way to the end. He had resigned himself to crawling under cars for the rest of his life, but here he was back in the open. Time to go and leave this city in the rear view. He took 2 steps, but then stopped. As his eyes finally adjusted, he stared into the backs of hundreds of zombies spread out through the street ahead and over the brown grass of a park. There were spaces between them, but they all stood facing away. None of them really moved. There were no noises except the harsh rasp of their breathing as they swayed from side to side on unsure legs. Waldo shivered in the heat as he realized they waited for someone like him to give them a reason to move. Smooth jazz. Zombies have smooth jazz running in their head all the time. That's why they're so upset when you guys interrupt them and force them to come try to eat you. All right. He was again on the horns of a dilemma. There was no going back, but going forward meant that they would see him and the whole nightmare would start again. He swallowed on a dry throat and thought the click was so loud he expected them all to turn at once. Growls grew in volume behind him as the persistent zombies continued through the traffic jam. Now the tinkle and shimmer of broken glass being moved by crawling bodies built up as well. Still, the swaying zombies didn't react. Maybe if he moved slowly enough, he could walk right between them without alerting them. He had never tried such a move. Ooh, I just got one more word in there. Look at that. Just cruising right along. He had never seen or heard anyone trying such a move. Probably because it was an exceedingly stupid move. Waldo took a deep breath and decided the only way was forward, so it was time to get as far as he could go before a horn blazed right behind him for a long sustained note. Every zombie he could see out into the distance turned at once. Waldo turned as well. He was just as curious as they were. Behind him, the hulking shape of an older model Ford Explorer shook from side to side. It was packed with zombies, like a damn SUV clown car of zombies. Many of the windows were down or broken, and zombie heads and arms reached out of each one as they jammed in those openings together. They shifted about in the overstuffed front seat enough so that the zombie driver, honking with his elbow, finally lifted off the horn. Waldo's ears rang in the heavy silence that followed, but not enough to cover the growls of disturbed undead that finally found a reason to move again. He interrupted the smooth jazz inside their head, I guess. Even more zombies with shards of glass sticking out of their bodies emerged from the terrible traffic jam as well. So what now? Waldo shook his head. Where the hell did they buy a heavy-duty battery that could last this long into the end of the world? I think heavy-duty is one word. Oh, nope. There's some dispute on that, so I'm going to leave it 2 words and give myself the word count. All right, chapter 6. Here he was again. Zombies on every side, with nothing better to do than to go after him. Waldo moved fast without much forethought. He used the front bumper of the Explorer to boost himself up onto the high hood. Still not high enough, as the zombies tracked and reached for him. Let's focus in on one of them. That's usually how you really make a zombie apocalypse scary, is when you can focus on one hero zombie in a scene to kind of represent them all. Alright. One of the undead women looked almost alive. Her brown eyes were bright, and her skin almost the blushed shade of life. Oh, I put 2 of these in. That's cheating. I don't want to put a bunch of these and get to my 12,500 that way. Alright. Her brown eyes were bright and her skin almost the blush shade of life. Her stringy blonde hair was caked in blood that had turned a dry brown. The paint, let's say the polish on her nails, on her chipped nails. No, I want to say chipped nails. On her jagged nails was chipped. But the stunning bit was the long slivers of glass jammed up underneath those nails. She opened her pink mouth to reveal yellowed teeth and a green tongue. Alright. Waldo climbed up the windshield glass with the cluster of zombies pawing at him from the inside. Alright, Duffy, what was the term you mentioned the other day? Micro something, where the action is reversed and can be taken incorrectly. I believe that explains something like he fell into the street after stepping off the curb. Yes, that's called micro chronology. So like chronology is like a real timeline. First this scene, that scene. But micro chronology is like within a sentence or within a phrase. Like running outside, he opened the door. You know, you got it backwards, so it's a small thing, but like the reader has to do a double take, because they, in their mind, they have the character running outside, but then you mention opening the door, so that obviously happened first. So you kind of have him like backing up in time, opening the door and come out. But that was it. I had done it with the street. I had him fall in the street off the curb, which again is a proper sentence, but the microchronology is he fell off the curb into the street. Like that's the order that kind of keeps the action moving in your mind, and that's usually when it's a problem, is when there's an action scene. But yeah, that's what that's called, microchronology. I'm sure it's called other stuff too, but it's a microchronology problem when you reverse it. All right, pawing at him from the inside. I hope to God I don't have to go back through that jam of cars to get away from all, and then I'm gonna break a, okay, Control Alt dash makes an M dash, because of course you need 3 keys to do something authors use on the regular. I hope to God I don't have to go back through that jam of cars to get away from all the windshield. The windshield under his knees popped loose from its frame hole. Not a crack in the glass showed. Not a crack in the glass showed as it ripped away from the corroded rubber around the edges. Okay. Waldo. Okay, first time chat viewer. How many words do you have today? I'm so behind. That's no problem. Everybody gets behind in Nano from time to time. I'm currently at 10,268. I'm trying to do a 2,500 a word day pace so that I finish on the 20th, because I really have a lot of trouble with Nano once we hit Thanksgiving, and that's always been my downfall in the past. So my goal, it was successful last year, was to do that 2,500 word a day pace for 20 days. So just past 10,000 now, and I need to get to 12,500 a day. I've been working all this week, so I haven't had time. That's a big thing for a lot of people too, and it's one of my problems with NaNoWriMo. I do it almost every year, but I kind of feel like there's some counterproductive aspects to it. 50,000 words is steep for a lot of people, which isn't a problem. It's also in November, which has Thanksgiving and other things, but also every month has something. But then there's not a lot of leeway. So like if you were to get 50,000 words in like 34 days, that would still be quite successful and pretty close to the mark. But we just got this thing in our head that if I don't hit that 50,000 by November 30th, that I'm this utter failure. And I do think that part's counterproductive. I've also thought that maybe a few people should try like lower word counts. So if you got like a ton of life stuff, I think it would be better for people to do like maybe 35,000 or 30,000 and make that be a goal. And then that would be more doable when you have a bunch of stuff going on. But there's something to be said for like having to hammer out more words in between stuff as you go. I can hit the 50K in a month if I'm not thinking about it, just writing. Nano super focuses me on and makes me stressed. I think that's part of it too. I've started to move away from word counts. Now I can't do that completely, because word counts really are the only way to figure out how many days you need in order to meet a deadline. So if you don't have any deadlines, I guess it's not a problem. But so I usually do like word minimums, and I usually try to keep them pretty low. So 2,500 words a day on a project is pretty steep for me now these days. But if I do like a 500 word minimum or 1,000 word minimum, I can usually hit that, and then I'll just keep going for as long as I can. And a lot of times I'll get past that word minimum, but I don't track the words anymore. Like I don't keep track in my head or on paper or anywhere else how many words I've done in a month or in a week, because I find that if I have a couple bad days in a week, I feel off for the entire week. So even if I have a great 5 days in a row, if I had 2 lousy days at the beginning, I always feel behind. So that's kind of why I've distanced myself from word counts as much as possible. That being said, here I am playing with NaNoWriMo again. My magic system has been kicking my butt. It's hard to hammer out. What genre is your novel? Okay, this one is horror. It's zombie, apocalyptic, and it leans towards splatterpunk. I try to be careful what I write on stream on Twitch, because I don't want to offend anybody necessarily. But this has been pretty gory and gross in places, being a zombie novel, and probably in the editing I'll punch that up a little bit more before I publish it. But Yeah, that's kind of where I am on this, and I'm trying to make it sort of a 50,000 word action scene, so just action all the way through, which is not really necessarily the best way to write a story, but NaNoWriMo already kind of being an experiment anyway, I figured that this would be a good place to try something new. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and who knows, if it makes me $1 million, then I'll look like a genius. All right, not a crack in the glass showed as it ripped away from the corroded rubber around the edges. Waldo felt like he was drifting up out of his body as he wavered in the air on the curved sheet of glass. No, it's fine. You talk to me anytime you want. If I'm in the middle of something, I'll finish a paragraph or whatever before I jump back in. I even have on the screen to feel free to come in anytime. I love taking breaks to have conversations, especially talking about writing and stuff. So anytime something catches your interest, just say something, and other people in chat will join in as well. So that's cool. Don't ever feel bad about talking to me in chat. Waldo felt like he was drifting up out of his body as he wavered in the air on the curved, I put an ED on there, curved sheet of glass. Atop the half dozen zombie hands. As more bodies pressed around the sides of the Explorer. Let me change that to SUV. Of the SUV. The sickening motion became worse. Waldo launched himself off the glass. Waldo launched himself off the glass and rolled onto the high roof. Getting up to his knees, he despaired at the scene around him. All right. That's what I do. Just not think about it. Give myself permission to suck and just keep going writing. I do think that authors would benefit a great deal by forgiving themselves more often. I literally have that printed on my wall. Nice. That's good stuff. All right. Getting up to his knees, he despaired at the scene around him. It had happened fast. Zombies from the park, from the maze of cars, and the surrounding area stood packed together several feet deep in every direction. The crowd continued to swell. This might be it. This was the fatal mistake. Getting isolated on an island surrounded by the undead who would never give up was how you got yourself killed. As he indulged in self-pity. As he indulged in self-pity. All right, I think that's a hyphenated word. Yep. All right, I just lost a word. Oh my goodness. Okay. As he indulged in self-pity, zombies, let's say hands from within the vehicle, hooked up and out of the windows, forcing him to the center. Others all around stretched for him too. Their breath hit him like a cool breeze, carrying the odor of spoiled garbage. Even through their growls, he could hear all their teeth snapping together over and over, out of time with each other. Probably should be from each other, but I'm going to leave it for now. All right, let me get some water real quick if you guys don't mind. All right, with each other. Okay. The Ford rocked from side to side. He tried to close his eyes on the world, but that just made him dizzy, and it was harder to keep his balance. If he hadn't opened his eyes at just the right time, he would have missed it and thought it was his own imagination. The entire thing, the full weight of the Ford Explorer, packed full of reanimated bodies. Okay, put a comma there. Lifted into the air a few inches and crashed back down on its wheels. Okay. The vehicle, do I need to, maybe I need a new paragraph there. The vehicle shook some more and then lifted even higher. And then lifted even higher. The front end hoisted up a bit more than the back, but the entire Explorer was aloft for a number of seconds before the full weight came back down. Waldo struggled to keep his balance and out of reach of the cold, dead hands all around him. All right. Okay, cold, dead hands all around him. Most of the wheels, let's make it tires. Most of the tires, let's keep wheels, sorry. Most of the wheels he'd passed as he crawled under this massive traffic jam had the wilted rubber of dry, rotted tires around their rims. This old Ford with the battery that still held enough charge. This old Ford with the battery that still held enough charge for the horn had full tires that absorbed the impact of being dropped. The owner, dead, alive, or undead, should be proud of their maintenance. Okay, now let's get this thing in motion. The third time, Waldo swore the mob was just going to carry the whole vehicle. Okay, let's say the third time it lifted. Waldo swore the mob was just going to carry the whole vehicle on their shoulders down the street. From up there, he couldn't tell how the undead were managing the feat. He braced himself, and it was a good thing because the Ford dropped hard that last time. Something crunched underneath. He assumed it was zombie skulls. Movement inside rustled underneath him. He heard crackling plastic from the dashboard through where the windshield used to be. All right, here we go. Waldo took a few deep breaths as he mistakenly thought the vehicle got lifted a fourth time. It was in motion, but now it crept forward. He whipped his head around on his neck. Not whipped. Sounds like he's doing this. He swiveled. Alright. He swiveled his head around on his neck to see the buildings sliding by and the packed cluster of cars falling behind. The explorer rolled slowly at first, but as more and more zombies fell away, the mass of the vehicle gained speed on the incline. With too few in front to stop its acceleration, the large wheels rolled over the last few zombies ahead and dragged them under for more crunching. As Waldo and his undead travel companions went on without them. He dared to raise up a little higher to see what was going on. Wind blew through his hair as the Ford really started to roll. The hill ahead looked steep and went on for a while. If this thing hit anything solid, Waldo was going to go flying and probably find, let's say, and would probably find himself twisted up on the street in a bloody mess for whenever the zombies caught back up with him. He considered rolling off and dropping to the street before the vehicle got going much faster, but it was already flying. A few scattered few scattered creatures turned in time to see the ford before it plowed over them. One almost looked like it was trying to get out of the way, but it moved too slowly and got clipped by the quarter panel. The zombie's legs broke in a few places, but then it flipped into the air and landed on the roof next to Waldo. Of course you did, Waldo shouted. The zombie twisted its head around too far in a way that reminded Waldo of an owl. He struggled to keep the thing's arms away from him as he tried to shove the undead monster off the side. The hands reaching out of no, I don't want to do out of twice. Reaching out of the windows kept shoving it back at Waldo. All right, let me start a new paragraph there. He used his boot to gain some distance and ended up dislocating the zombie's shoulders. Somehow, this just made it worse. The beast twisted and turned like a contortionist, grabbing and squeezing Waldo. In desperation, he started rolling the zombie over and over until it finally tumbled away into the street. The broken up creature bounced 3 times as Waldo called after it, "Good riddance." He faced forward. He better try to keep those toes away from him as well. Yeah. Tom can't get over the zombie toe in the mouth from earlier, I don't think. I can't either. That was pretty gross. All right. Gotten that far. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to hit some more action here. Literally hit some more action. He faced forward just in time to see the smaller blue car rush toward them. The explorer hit the little car, crumpled its back, and sent it rolling as well. Okay. Waldo flew off the roof, twisted, let's say twirled in the air, tumbled over the hood, and dumped onto the back of the blue car before he really realized what was happening. Even with the impact damage, the back of the new vehicle was streamlined and aerodynamic, giving him few places to hang on. He tried to climb up. He tried to climb up the plastic spoiler, but it snapped off. And split under the wheels of the Ford as it still barreled after him. Waldo took that as a warning and scrambled onto the egg. I got two of these. That's cheating. The egg curved top of the tiny car. At least it seemed to be picking up the pace as the Explorer had lost a bit of momentum. That still left Waldo on top of a car that was rolling out of control. Both vehicles. All right, I got an extra letter there. All right, both vehicles whizzed by the scattered zombies that turned slowly in place to watch them go. All right. Tumble over, leap on, start rolling. All right. Waldo used the lull in action to examine his new ride. A Porsche 911. That's what it looked like. Whoa, what am I doing? That's what it looked like to him. He thought that car was amazing when he was a kid. One of his friends' dads, one of his friends' dad was a divorced accountant who owned one in the mid to late 80s. His was blue. His was cherry red. This one was blue with rust all around the bottom edges. Looked like a piece of crap from up here. Okay. Alright, so he's rolling along on that. Waldo considered whether he should try to climb inside. Alright, how big is this chapter? Alright, looks like I was about to come to a chapter break, but I wasn't sure I'd gone long enough, but I think I may do it anyway. Waldo considered whether he should try to climb inside instead of car surfing the rest of the way down the hill. The street rolled under him pretty fast again. He'd be risking a spill to get the door open and then crawl inside just to find himself in a vehicle. No, it's to find himself behind the wheel of a powerless car with no airbag, if this thing was really as old as it looked. It seemed like an unnecessary risk. Let me fix a word there. Seemed like an unnecessary risk to him. Right up until the Porsche veered toward the buildings veered toward the buildings on the right side. Alright, there we go. That's a reason why you would do it. Okay, let's make this next one Chapter 7. Alright, bump, 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 cliffhanger, but it only lasts a couple seconds because you're watching it live. Alright. Cliffhanger, what's going to happen? Will he die this early in the novel? Probably not, but, you know, gotta pretend there's peril. Okay. He clung to the smooth top of the 911 as it bumped up over the curb, and the walls of the buildings blurred by at high speed. Okay, what are you gonna do, Waldo? Let's find out. As he braced himself for the inevitable crash, the explorer caught up just off to his left on the driver's side of the Porsche. Didn't all divorce accountants own one of those in the 80s? I actually drew that from an actual person, but maybe that was pretty common. I hope they don't read this. I'm not friends with them anymore. Maybe they'll assume I'm not talking about them. Alright, here comes that SUV on the driver's side of the Porsche. Now what? The Ford slowly drifted toward him and the sidewalk with all those zombies leaning out the passenger side windows. All right, here we go. Waldo made a decision. He climbed forward and stomped. He climbed forward and stomped down onto the slope of the Porsche's windshield. It splashed white, folded in, and then broke through in pieces. Okay. The explorer, okay, let's do the new paragraph here. The explorer, packed like an undead clown car, bumped into the side of Waldo's blue rusty ride. Okay. As they rolled together along the sidewalk. The zombies leaning out the windows, got hands on him and threatened. I got an extra letter there, excuse me just a moment. Got hands on him and threatened to drag him right off the top and down in between the vehicles on the curb. That would be a painful fall. I'm going to say that. That would be a painful fall. I was just making the comment, but it makes a perfectly good line in the story as well. Why not use it? All right. The Porsche... No. Okay. I don't think I'm ever going to spell this thing correctly on the first try. All right. The Porsche scraped the brick walls on the passenger side. The mirror popped loose of its crushed holder and shattered on the sidewalk. Okay, let me take out an extra space there, excuse me. Alright, and shattered on the sidewalk behind him. He's on his own right now. Alright. Several zombies turned to face the approaching vehicles as if there were nothing to fear. The undead ahead of them folded under the wheels or got dragged between the car and the wall. Gore sprayed everywhere as the zombies were shredded below their chests. Then the torsos broke free and started grabbing Waldo from the passenger side. Okay, let me fix a misspell there. From the passenger side. Oh, come on. Okay. Okay. Waldo kicked those partial bodies back and off the car as he reached through the hole in the windshield. Waldo kicked those partial bodies back and off the car as he reached through the hole in the windshield and tried to steer at the same time. No power steering, he grunted. It didn't help. That he was trying to turn a little Porsche 911 into a heavy Ford Explorer. The zombie hands fell away from him as the Ford bumped away from the curb. Waldo turned hard to leave the buildings and the sidewalk as well. A light post I think that's 2 words though. A light post grew in his path as the dead car responded slowly. He avoided striking it dead on, but still glanced off it with a jarring hit. The crumpled holder for the side mirror barely missed his head as it curved up and over him. He heard the impact and turned just in time to see the last zombie torso that was still holding on behind him. That jagged ball of metal had taken off half the monster's face. Let's say as it went limp and fell away from the car, Waldo realized he hadn't even noticed it was still there. The thing would have had its teeth locked on his ass cheek before he even knew what was happening. Okay. Checking notes again real quick. Okay, mirror. Knocks off half its face. The car picked up speed again as it raced down the long slope. Waldo was turned around, still marveling how lucky he had been. And that was why he saw the light post he had hit now falling toward him like a great tree. He had nowhere to go. Waldo whispered, "Timber." All right. The curved arm of the light punched down into the engine of the Porsche, which was in the back. A second, different or a bit slower, and that would have gone through Waldo's back instead. The car slowed a great deal. As it dragged the big post. Zombies exited doorways on both sides. Zombies exited doorways on both sides and strolled toward the car and the terrible scraping noise along the street. Okay. The blue car bumped the vehicle in front of it so softly that Waldo heard it, but didn't feel it. Still, the bumped car started to move. He didn't need an invitation. Waldo got up, ran forward, and jumped onto the next car. He didn't need an invitation. Waldo got up, ran forward, jumped onto the next car as it started to leave the speared Porsche behind. As the hungry undead lost ground, Waldo inspected his new ride. It had a flatter roof to sit on, so that was good. A Mustang. Alright, let's see how those are spelled, because I need to capitalize it. That was what the difference was. Mustang. Everyone talked about how cool Mustangs were for as long as he could remember. This one was black on top and silver underneath, with a red stripe between the two colors. Waldo stared a moment, trying to see what was so cool about this thing. Maybe this was just a bad year for Mustangs, but this thing looked about as cool as the old Toyota Tercel that his mother used to drive in the 80s. Guys used to have posters of this thing in their rooms. Alright. He's being really critical of cool cars, isn't he? Alright. Alright. Technical question when you get a chance. Why do you start your feed at 15 after the hour? Just curious. Okay. Part of that's for my own benefit, because there's a bunch of things I got to get set up and make sure that, I have my scenes in order, make sure that I've done my checklist, I have water, the signs on the door that says I'm recording, I got my lights on, all that kind of stuff. So in order to set myself up for that, when alarm goes off on the hour, I know that 15 minutes is enough time to get set up and then do like the start screen and some of the little ad things I put together and stuff like that. So it's mainly just for me. If I started on the hour, I would have to go to 45 minutes before to get everything set up and all. So for me, it's just it just kind of cheats me 15 minutes so that I know if I start getting ready on the hour, I'll be more than ready when it's time to start streaming. So that's kind of why I do it. Figured it was all that, but wanted to check. Yeah. And sometimes it's just a little different than the hour. So if everybody remembers that it's something 15, I think that sticks in the head more. But That's just a theory of mine that I don't have any proof for. All right. The Mustang hadn't gone far before it hit a silver car in front of it. All right, the Mustang hadn't gone far when it hit a silver car in front of it and started to slow down. Then the Ford Explorer slammed into the back, folding up the trunk. Waldo wasn't sure how he held on, but he did. Waldo wasn't sure how he held on, but he did. His neck hurt from the whiplash motion. If he lived long enough to sleep again, he was going to feel that. Good Lord, Jay. Feel that in the morning. How did you get behind me again? He shouted at the zombies leaning out the windows. They growled back at him. At least he was moving again. Then he hit the silver vehicle again. Waldo ran out and off the Mustang to jump on the streamlined silver vehicle that appeared to be rolling a little faster. Is this a DeLorean? Alright, how do you spell DeLorean? Okay, we need an O there. Is this a DeLorean? Oh, there we are. We need to capitalize the L, of course. Just like in that movie. Alright, so but the stainless steel wonder was slowing down again. The Ford Explorer crept forward and gave the DeLorean another bump. They both rolled a few more feet and eased to a stop in the middle of a T intersection. Okay, in the middle of a T intersection. Waldo sighed and muttered, the only accurate part of Back to the Future was how often DeLoreans break down. All right, fix the spelling there. All right. Level ground. Level ground. They had come to the end of the hill. Waldo supposed he should be thankful. If it wasn't for that light post, right near the end, he would have barreled into the apartment building straight in front of him. Thanks, I guess. Waldo climbed down as more zombies turned from the other streets. In both directions. Let's make that singular, I guess, because you're a T intersection, so it's just one street. I may have to clarify that a little bit later. Thanks, I guess. Waldo climbed down as more zombies turned from the other street in both directions to see what was going on with the fender bender. Turned out there was a fresh human. So they came toward him to investigate. I'm not getting away. I'm just finding new zombies to chase me. He bent his knees and prepared to pick a direction to run. But that was when he saw her. She sat on the ledge outside a second floor window, staring down at him. At least she wasn't laughing at him this time. All right, we're at the end of a chapter, and look at that. I'm at 12,503 words. So good stuff. This will be chapter 8 then. I'll probably go ahead and reread chapter 7 tomorrow to get myself into the story. But right now we have achieved the goal. All right. Ooh, I'm going to have to write more material in my notes. I'm already catching up to my outline. All right. My specific outline, I have the long outline of the story that kind of tells the main things that are going to happen, but I need to get the specific beats that are happening in each place. All right, I finished up with all these cars. I am not a car guy, so it was very difficult to get the names and details to get all that in there. All right, so if you've been following the story, you kind of have an idea of who he has seen. He still doesn't know much about her, but there she is. So that's where we leave off with chapter 7. All right, real quick, I am going to take a look. I'm going to update my progress on my NaNoWriMo page. So I am 4 words past my goal. So we have total 12,504 words. I am happy with that. That's as far as I wanted to get. Update my progress. 12,504 words on Ruthless, Rabid, Raging, Ravenous, Rampaging, Remorseless, Repulsive, Revolting, Repugnant zombies. Good job, Jay Wilburn. All right, now I'm going to take a look at my buddies. So we'll see how some of the other folks are doing. I usually pull back to the full view because I don't want to look in on people who don't want me checking out what they've done. So we'll go back there. All right. We'll take a look at J Pelton. He is in the midst of a novel that's literary in nature. I still mean to ask him what those initials stand for. He has made 11,071 words. So looking at the 30-day goal, if you do 1,667-ish words a day, you will get there in 30 days. So if you multiply that times 5, what does he get for that? All right. 1,667 times 5 gets you 8,335 words. Okay. Pretend like I was cool enough to do that in my head. I'm gonna edit that part out, and when I put it on YouTube, and then it'll look like I did the math. So 8,835 words if you're staying on that pace, 12,500 words if you're on a 20-day pace. So he is well ahead of the 30-day pace. So very good job there, Ryan. All right, looking at a couple more folks. Let's see here. Tom Duffy, who may or may not be done for the day, is at 11,220 words. Usually he's writing when he follows along on the stream here, so he's probably going to update again there, and that means he's well ahead of pace as well. So very good job, sir. There is an author. I'm going to take a closer look at his work today, so I'm going to put him off for a little while. Armand Rosamalia, and he has definitely updated today on his third book in the First Coast Thrillers series, the first book coming out January 15th if you want to pre-order it. Armand is at 12,608 words, so doing better than me and well over even a 20-day pace for 50,000 words. I won't start writing until this evening, so I haven't updated anything yet. All right, so that's yesterday's numbers. Good Lord, Tom. I think Armand may be right. You are a show-off, but congratulations. I'm glad you're doing well. All right. Alex from Iowa, and he is doing a wonderful job as well. Alex is at 9,317 words on Curse of the Blood Moon, so well ahead of the 30-day pace, which is excellent. So he'll get that 50,000 words without hardly a problem. So very good job, Alex. You are doing very well. Maybe even better than you've done in the past on Nano. I can't remember what your last year's totals were. All right, there's lots of people to look at here. Let's jump back in on Oscar. We haven't looked at Oscar Jones in a while. Oscar is writing Demons and Disaster, which is a fantasy story, and he is at 7,820 words. So doing really well, real close to pace, and so he is he's not far behind at all if he's going for the 30-day pace, and so any burst of numbers will get him there really well. So excellent job, sir. Appreciate all your effort as well. All right, we're going to take a look at John Quick, but I wanted to see if maybe I want to jump in on one more person here as we go. Let's jump in on Chuck Buda. I'm really trying to encourage him as we go along here. Last time I checked, Chuck Buda was at 1,000 some odd words, and now the next time I check here, he's at 3,150. So forget about the pace. What this shows is that he missed a few days. He was at 1,000 and some odd words, and now he's at 3,000 plus words, which means at some point he sat down and wrote 2,000 more words. Now this is a good point for the importance of just celebrating the day that you got. A 2,000 word day is excellent, even by NaNoWriMo standards. So regardless of where other people may be on day 5, Chuck Buda has gone from 1,000 to 3,000 plus words, and so I want to commend him on sticking with it and doing such a great job there. That's a really important aspect of surviving NaNoWriMo, is not giving up when you miss a few days. So a lot of people do, and that's really a shame. All right, let's take a quick look at John Quick, because I'm going to take a look at his books as well. John Quick writing Beneath the Surface, a horror and supernatural story. He is notorious for blowing away the numbers as he goes, and he is already at 17,140 words. So he'll be done with the 50,000 words in no time, way ahead of even a 20-day pace, much less the 30-day pace. So very good job there. Let's take a look at the kind of writing that John Quick does. He has such a range that we could go all day through these things. I'm going to take a look at a few works here. Demon at the Window. Let's see when this was published. This came out just a couple days ago, actually. So, and I think that's a second edition, so it may be a reprint of something that was there in the past. Let's take a look at what Demon at the Window is. The first book in the Cochran investigation series. Jack Cochran was in, any hero that's named Jack is good. That's always what the good stuff is. All right, the first book in the Cochran investigation series. Jack Cochran was actually relieved when he was fired from the TBI following one of the strangest cases he'd ever encountered. He decided to try his luck as a private investigator and live out a long-time dream, but probably he ran into trouble. That's what happens to every investigator in a story. What he didn't expect was that his first case would be to track down a stalker who may be an actual burst from hell demon intent on killing his clients off one by one. Don't you hate that? I run into that all the time. This isn't the case he wanted, but it's the one he ended up with, and he can only hope to survive the Demon at the Window. So if you're not interested in that, I don't know what's wrong with you. Let's see the Crimson Springs. All right, Crimson Springs. The last thing Tim wanted was to move to a small town like Crimson Springs, of course. Small towns and horror stories are the worst. After spending his entire life in a larger city like Nashville, his dad was going to be the new police chief, so he didn't really have much choice in the matter. When he spotted a cute girl on the courthouse steps on the way in, though, he figured it might not be that bad. I'm guessing this girl is trouble. Little did he know Crimson Springs wasn't an ordinary small town in the South. It had a secret. I think all small towns in the South have secrets, but probably not like this one. An exceptionally dark one, and it was about to consume him. Something's not quite right with this place, and it is up to Tim and a pair of fellow outcasts to figure out what's behind it, and to stop it before it's too late. Crimson Springs, a lovely place to die. That's some good copy right there. Savage Mountain is one that I have read and I really do enjoy. Kind of an exploration up into the mountains, and you end up with criminals and all sorts of things, and it's a good fight for survival type novel. And then you can look here and see that John Quick is producing all sorts of work that you would probably be interested in. So nice horror stories that kind of have a thriller element to them as well. A lot of horror authors try to say, well, I'm doing dark thrillers too, because there's this idea that thrillers sell better than horror. But I would actually describe John Quick's writing as horror stories with a thriller element in them, or the reverse. There truly is thriller aspects to his horror. So I think it makes an interesting and very good combination there.